Welcome back. Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of the United Kingdom's one-penny coin, small in size but sometimes worth a small fortune. These coins have seen centuries of British history, from the reign of Queen Victoria to Queen Elizabeth I. In this video, we'll uncover the top 5 most valuable one-penny coins covering different years, mint marks, and conditions that can drastically change their value. Whether your coin is shiny and fine, or dirty and damaged, you might still have a hidden treasure in your pocket or coin jar. Let's get started. First up, the United Kingdom one penny from 1945. Although it may look like just another old bronze coin you might find tucked away in an attic or a jar of change, the 1945 penny holds incredible value in history, design, and collector interest. Even in circulated or worn condition, this coin can attract strong attention from collectors worldwide. In this video, we'll explore its fascinating background, its features, how its rarity affects its value, and what it could fetch at auction in dollars today. The 1945 one penny belongs to the reign of King George VI, who ruled from 1936 to 1952. These coins were part of the pre-decimal British currency system, in which 240 pennies equaled £1 sterling. The coin was struck at a time when the world was just emerging from World War II, making the 1945 issue a symbol of Britain's resilience and transition to peace. During the war years, coin production was somewhat limited due to metal shortages and the need for resources to support the war effort. By 1945, production of pennies had resumed, but they were still not made in huge numbers compared to earlier issues. Millions were produced for circulation, but over the decades, most have either been heavily worn or melted down, leaving fewer good examples for collectors today. This coin also represents one of the final bronze penny issues before the gradual shift to different alloys and the eventual decimalization in 1971, when the old penny system was replaced by the new decimal coins we use today. The 1945 one penny was struck in bronze, composed of 95.5% copper, 3% tin, and 1.5% zinc. It measures 30.8 mm in diameter and weighs about 9.45 grams. On the obverse, the front side, it features a detailed portrait of King George VI, facing left. Around his bust is the Latin inscription Georgiv 6D GBROMN Rex F laughing smiley IND-IMP, which stands for George VI, by the grace of God, King of all the Britons, Defender of the Faith, Emperor of India. The reverse side carries one of the most classic British designs, Britannia seated by the sea, holding a trident and shield adorned with the Union Jack. Beneath her feet lies the date 1945, marking its year of minting. The artistry and symbolism of this design represent strength, maritime power, and unity, capturing the spirit of the British Empire at that time. At first glance, the 1945 penny might not seem particularly rare, but its survival rate in good condition is what makes it interesting. Most examples found today are heavily circulated, with faded details, scratches, and tarnish, signs of a coin that truly served its purpose in everyday British life for decades. However, collectors often value such circulated coins because they tell a story of the nation's post-war era. The 1945 penny is more common than some earlier dates like 1933 or 1952, which are extremely rare, but it's still increasingly difficult to find in higher grades, especially with a clean surface and strong details. Even in lower grades, this coin attracts steady collector demand because it represents an important piece of mid-20th century British numismatic history. There is also particular interest among American and European collectors who focus on British coinage from the 20th century. Many enjoy owning this coin as part of a full George VI penny collection, making even circulated examples quite desirable. Now, let's talk about what you've all been waiting for: the market value. In the current coin market, a 1945 UK one penny in circulated condition usually sells for around 50 cents to $3, depending on how worn it is. Coins with moderate wear but visible details often fall into this price range. However, for better preserved examples, those with clear lettering and a visible shine, prices can go up to $431,000. In uncirculated or near mint state, this penny can fetch between $221,000, and occasionally more if the coin shows exceptional luster and sharp striking. At auction, some collectors have paid premiums for coins graded by professional services such as PCGS or NGC. Exceptional 1945 pennies have been known to sell for $114,000, depending on the coin's presentation, provenance, and overall eye appeal. If you're a coin collector or thinking of becoming one, here are a few useful tips for handling and identifying the 1945 penny. Inspect condition. Carefully use a magnifying glass to check for wear on the King's portrait and Britannia's details. The sharper the relief, the higher the potential value. Avoid cleaning. The coin cleaning can damage the original patina and drastically reduce value. Collectors prefer natural aging. Store properly. Keep your coins in acid-free holders or plastic flips to prevent oxidation or further damage. Check for errors while rare. Certain 1945 pennies may have slight minting errors or misaligned dies, which can significantly increase collector interest and price. Track market trends. Coin values fluctuate with demand. Follow online auctions or coin forums to stay updated on the latest market prices. End conclusion. The 1945 United Kingdom 1 penny may not be a millionaire's treasure, but it's a beautiful piece of British history with a timeless charm. Its value lies not only in the bronze it's made of, but in the story it tells, a story of Britain's resilience, craftsmanship, and transition through one of the most important periods of the 20th century. Even in circulated or worn condition, it remains a collectible symbol of heritage and nostalgia that continues to captivate collectors around the world. So, next time you come across a 1945 penny, take a closer look. You might just be holding a small but fascinating part of history in your hands. Next up, the United Kingdom 1 penny from 1964. Although it might look like an ordinary bronze coin, this piece carries a fascinating story that marks the end of an era in British coinage. If you found a 1964 penny in fine condition, you may be surprised to know that it still attracts collectors' interest worldwide, not for its face value, but for its history, design, and subtle market worth. Let's take a closer look at what makes the 1964 1 penny such a timeless collectible. The 1964 UK 1 penny belongs to the last generation of large, pre-decimal pennies produced before the United Kingdom switched to the decimal system in 1971. These coins were struck under the reign of Queen Elizabeth II, marking the early years of her rule. Minted by the Royal Mint, the coin represents Britain's deep-rooted monetary heritage, as the penny denomination had existed in various forms since Anglo-Saxon times. The 1964 penny was produced in very large numbers. Over 146 million pieces were minted, which might make it seem common. However, as the years passed, many of these coins were removed from circulation, melted down, or heavily worn, making fine-condition examples increasingly scarce. It's a coin that symbolizes the final years before the decimal transition and serves as a nostalgic reminder of Britain's rich numismatic history. The design of the 1964 1 penny is both classic and beautiful. On the obverse, it features the young portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Mary Gillick, showing the Queen wearing a laureate crown, a graceful and elegant depiction that became a favorite among collectors. Surrounding her image are the words Elizabeth II Dei Gratia Regina FD, meaning Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen, Defender of the Faith. On the reverse, designed by Leonard Charles Wyon, sits Britannia, the symbolic female personification of Britain. She is shown seated on a rock, holding a trident in her left hand and a shield bearing the Union Jack beside her. Below her is the date, 1964, and around the edge, the simple inscription 1 penny. The coin's large size, 31mm in diameter, and its rich bronze color make it a standout piece in any collection. While the 1964 1 penny is not considered extremely rare in general, its condition plays a key role in determining value. Circulated or damaged coins are quite common, but fine condition examples, where most of the details of Britannia and the Queen's portrait remain visible with minimal wear, are becoming harder to find as decades pass. Collectors often seek coins that capture this transitional period of British coinage, and the 1964 penny holds sentimental value because it was one of the last pre-decimal pennies ever produced for circulation. Even damaged examples are still sought after for educational purposes, coin albums, or historical displays, especially in the United States and Commonwealth countries, where British coinage remains a popular collecting theme. Now, let's talk about what everyone wants to know: the value of the 1964 1 penny in today's market. In fine condition, the coin typically sells for around $434,000, depending on the level of detail and overall eye appeal. Coins in very fine to extremely fine condition can fetch between $324,000, while uncirculated or mint state examples may reach $123,000, especially if they are bright, well-struck, and free of corrosion. Auctions, especially online marketplaces like eBay or numismatic platforms. Certain well-preserved 1964 pennies have sold for even higher when presented in certified slabs or complete sets. However, heavily damaged or corroded pieces usually have little monetary value, often selling for less than $1, but they still carry historical and educational worth for beginning collectors. If you're collecting or selling the 1964 penny, here are some useful tips. Check the condition carefully. Fine or better examples always attract more interest. Avoid cleaning the coin, as cleaning can damage the surface and lower its value. Store your coins properly in a dry environment using acid-free holders or coin flips to prevent oxidation. Look for die variations or minting errors, though rare on this issue, as they can significantly raise the value. Keep sets of pre-decimal coins together. Collectors often pay more for full-date runs, especially from the late 1950s to 1967. In conclusion, the 1964 United Kingdom 1 penny may not be a rare treasure in the strictest sense, but its historical charm, classic design, and connection to the pre-decimal era make it a must-have for collectors. In fine condition, It serves as both a nostalgic keepsake and a small investment in Britain's rich numismatic legacy. Whether you've just discovered one in an old drawer or you're actively building a coin collection, the 1964 penny is a beautiful reminder of a bygone monetary system, one that continues to capture hearts and interest across generations. Next up, the United Kingdom 1 penny from 1967. Although millions were produced, many people still find them in old drawers, coin jars, and inherited collections. But have you ever wondered whether a 1967 1 penny in bad condition could still be worth anything today? In this video, we'll explore its history, unique design, rarity, collector demand, and what its current market value in US dollars really is, even when the coin is worn, scratched, or tarnished. The 1967 1 penny coin marks the final full year of production before the United Kingdom began preparing for decimalization, the transition from the old pre-decimal currency system to the modern decimal currency that began in 1971. During the late 1960s, the British Royal Mint produced millions of these bronze pennies to ensure enough coins were in circulation as smaller denominations were gradually phased out. The coin features the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Mary Gillick, which was used on UK coins from 1953 to 1970. On the reverse side, the coin proudly displays Britannia, the iconic symbol of Britain, seated with a trident and shield. The year 1967 was significant because it represented one of the last years this classical Britannia design was struck before the design was discontinued after decimalization. The 1967 penny was struck in bronze, composed of 97% copper, 2.5% zinc, and 0.5% tin. It measures 30.81 mm in diameter and weighs about 9.45 grams, making it one of the larger coins in the pre-decimal series. The obverse side features the youthful image of Queen Elizabeth II with the Latin inscription Elizabeth II Dei Gratia Regina FD, meaning Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen, Defender of the Faith. The reverse side, featuring Britannia seated with a trident, shield, and a lighthouse in the background, is one of the most classic and recognizable coin designs in British numismatic history. While this coin may appear common, collectors still value it for its historic charm and its role in Britain's pre-decimal legacy. Now, let's talk about rarity. The 1967 penny is not rare in general. Over 650 million were minted, making it one of the most produced coins of its era. However, demand from collectors still exists, particularly for uncirculated or proof condition coins. When the coin is in bad condition, meaning heavily worn, corroded, or scratched, its rarity value drops significantly. Yet, some collectors and beginners still seek these coins for educational collections, historical displays, or as affordable entry points into coin collecting. Damaged coins can also have sentimental or symbolic value, especially if found in old family collections. Occasionally, coins with minting errors, such as off-center strikes or doubled lettering, can fetch more, even in poor condition, but these are quite uncommon for the 1967 issue. When it comes to market value, condition is everything. A 1967 1 penny in bad condition usually sells for between $534,000, primarily as a collectible souvenir rather than an investment piece. Coins in fine to very fine condition may bring around $431,000, while uncirculated or proof examples can be valued between $316,000, depending on appearance and luster. Occasionally, a rare proof strike or high-grade coin might appear at auction, reaching prices above $114,000, especially if certified by professional grading services. But for most worn examples, the coin's worth lies more in its historical significance than its market price. If you own a 1967 penny in poor condition, don't toss it away. It still represents a fascinating piece of British monetary history. For collectors, always avoid cleaning old coins, as this can reduce their numismatic value even further. Store your coins in a dry, cool environment, ideally in coin flips or holders to prevent further corrosion. If you're new to collecting, try to build a small set of pre-decimal coins, including the halfpenny, penny, and threepence, to better appreciate the old British currency system. And if you ever come across a 1967 penny in near-perfect or proof condition, consider getting it graded by NGC or PCGS, as authenticated coins tend to perform better in auctions and online marketplaces. So, while the 1967 United Kingdom 1 penny in bad condition isn't a rare treasure worth hundreds, it's still a meaningful coin that connects us to Britain's pre-decimal history and the early reign of Queen Elizabeth II. Its charm lies in nostalgia and its place in the story of British coinage. Whether you keep it as a collector's piece, a lucky charm, or a historical memento, the 1967 penny remains a timeless reminder of an era that shaped modern British currency. Next up, the United Kingdom 1 penny from 1930. Even though yours might look old, dirty, or worn out, this coin still carries a lot of history and potential collector interest. So, in this video, We'll explore everything about the 1930 UK 1 penny, from its background and unique features to its rarity, market value in dirty or poor condition, and helpful tips for collectors. Let's uncover the story behind this nearly century-old coin and see if it's hiding some surprising value. The 1931 penny belongs to the reign of King George V, one of the most respected monarchs in British history. These coins were struck at the Royal Mint and made of 95.5% copper, 3% tin, and 1.5% zinc. During this period, pennies were widely used for everyday purchases, everything from a loaf of bread to a morning newspaper. The 1930 penny represents the later years of George V's reign, just before his death in 1936. While millions were produced, many have since been lost, melted down, or heavily worn through decades of circulation, making surviving examples interesting to both historians and collectors today. The obverse side of the 1930 penny features a beautifully detailed portrait of King George V, facing left, with a Latin inscription Georgives V Dei Gra, Brit, OMN, Rex Fid, Def, IND, IMP. Meaning George V, by the grace of God, King of all the Britons, Defender of the Faith, Emperor of India. On the reverse side, you'll find the classic seated figure of Britannia, holding her trident and shield beside the sea, a design symbolizing Britain's naval power and stability. The date 1930 appears below Britannia. The coin measures 30.8 millimeters in diameter and weighs 9.4 grams, with a smooth edge and solid copper color that can darken or turn greenish with age and exposure. Now, when it comes to rarity, the 1931 penny is not among the rarest UK pennies, but it still holds collector interest due to its age and classic design. Over 47 million pieces were minted, meaning most examples are considered common in circulated condition. However, truly high-grade specimens with original color and minimal wear are far harder to find and can fetch decent prices at auctions. In dirty or damaged condition, the coin's value drops significantly, as corrosion, grime, and scratches affect its eye appeal and metal preservation. Still, even in poor shape, collectors often keep such coins to complete date runs or historical displays. So while it may not make you rich, it remains a tangible link to Britain's early 20th century coinage heritage. Let's talk about the money side. The 1930 UK 1 penny in dirty or heavily circulated condition typically sells for around $332,000, depending on the level of wear and appearance. If the coin still shows readable details and a bit of luster under the dirt, the price may rise toward $2 or $3. On the other hand, coins that have been cleaned improperly or corroded may be worth only their copper value, just a few cents. However, in higher grades, such as fine to extremely fine condition, these coins can sell anywhere between $213,000, and in near uncirculated or proof-like condition, they can exceed $114,000. So, while your dirty penny might not be a jackpot, it's still a small treasure worth holding on to, especially as older coins continue to grow in historical interest. If you found a 1931 penny, here are a few useful tips. First, never clean your coin with chemicals or metal polish, as this can destroy its natural patina and drastically reduce its collector value. Instead, gently rinse it in warm distilled water and pat dry if you need to remove loose dirt. Second, store your coin properly. Use coin flips or airtight capsules to prevent further corrosion. Third, keep an eye on online auction listings and coin forums to monitor price trends. Sometimes, an unusually nice example of this coin can surprise you at sale time. Finally, if you're building a UK penny collection, the 1930 issue is a must-have for completing your George V penny series, which runs from 1911 to 1936. So, there you have it, the 1930 United Kingdom 1 penny. A classic copper coin that may look dirty and worn but carries nearly a century of history in its design. While it's not extremely rare or highly valuable in damaged condition, it remains a wonderful piece for collectors who appreciate the artistry and legacy of early British coinage. Whether worth a few cents or a few dollars, every coin like this tells a story from Britain's past. Next up, the United Kingdom 1 penny from 1920. At first glance, this coin might look like an ordinary old penny, but when you take a closer look, you'll discover that it represents a fascinating period of change in British coinage history. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just beginning your numismatic journey, this coin is definitely one worth knowing about, especially if you have one in fine condition. So, let's explore its story, features, and what makes it stand out in today's collector's market. The year 1920 was a landmark in British coin history. It marked the transition from the older bronze pennies, introduced in 1860, to a new metal composition that would define the coins of the post-World War I era. The 1920 penny was struck during the reign of King George V, a monarch whose coins are among the most collected worldwide. These coins were produced by the Royal Mint at a time when Britain was recovering from the economic impact of the First World War. Interestingly, 1920 was also the year when the composition of silver coins changed from sterling silver, 92.5%, to 50% silver, reflecting the financial challenges of the time. While the penny itself remained bronze, it became a symbol of Britain's resilience and adaptation during the early 20th century. The 1921 penny carries all the classic design elements that make George V-era coins so iconic. On the obverse, you'll find the left-facing bust of King George V, surrounded by the Latin inscription Georgives V Dei Gra, Brit, OMN, Rex Fid, Def, Ind, Imp, which translates to George V, by the grace of God, King of all the Britons, Defender of the Faith, Emperor of India. On the reverse, the famous Britannia design is beautifully detailed, seated on a rock, holding a trident in one hand and a shield in the other, with the denomination 1 penny and the date 1920 below. Coins in fine condition typically show light wear on the high points but retain strong details of Britannia's figure and the king's portrait. The even brown or reddish-brown toning often adds character, making well-preserved examples visually striking and desirable among collectors. Although the 1921 penny was minted in large quantities, over 119 million pieces, finding one in fine or higher condition today is less common than you might think. Many of these coins were heavily circulated, resulting in worn or corroded examples that have lost much of their original detail. The penny's bronze composition also means it's prone to tarnish and surface damage, especially if stored improperly over the years. Even coins in damaged or dirty condition still attract attention from collectors, particularly those looking to complete year sets of George V pennies. However, collectors generally value pieces that retain more of their original details and luster, making fine condition examples considerably more appealing. While not among the rarest dates of the series, the 1920 penny's age, historical context, and attractive design ensure steady demand in the numismatic market. Now, let's talk about what everyone wants to know: the value. The price of a 1921 penny depends largely on its condition. In heavily worn or damaged condition, the coin typically sells for around $534,000. However, a coin in fine condition, with decent detail on both sides and minimal corrosion, can fetch between $431,000 on the collector market. If you're lucky enough to own an example in very fine or extremely fine condition, the value can rise to $431,000. Exceptional, uncirculated specimens with original color and full details have been known to sell at auctions for $213,000, depending on their eye appeal and market demand. While it may not make you rich overnight, its historical value and beauty make it a rewarding coin to own. If you're looking to collect or preserve a 1921 penny, here are some helpful tips. First, always handle the coin carefully, ideally by the edges, to avoid adding new scratches or fingerprints. Store your coins in acid-free holders or coin flips to protect them from moisture and air exposure. When buying, look for coins that have even surfaces, clear legends, and visible details of Britannia and King George V. Avoid coins that have been polished or cleaned harshly, as this can reduce their value significantly. For collectors focusing on George V coinage, the 1920 penny makes a great addition to a date set and is an affordable way to own a piece of British history from the early 20th century. The 1920 United Kingdom 1 penny is a coin that tells a story of post-war Britain, royal heritage, and classic coin artistry. While it may not be exceedingly rare, its beauty, history, and accessibility make it a popular choice for collectors worldwide. A fine condition example captures both the craftsmanship of the Royal Mint and the endurance of British currency through a century of change. So, if you come across one of these coins in your collection or pocket change, take a moment to appreciate it. You might just be holding a small but meaningful piece of numismatic history. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed learning about the 1921 penny, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more videos about rare and valuable coins from the United Kingdom. Drop a comment below if you have one of these pennies. We'd love to hear about your collection.